What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a combination thanks to Justice Hunters. This time it is the turn of Dracotail branded, or branded Dracotail, which way you want to do it. Now, as a disclaimer, this is, as requested, a 40 card build. A lot of people didn't want a 60 card build, which is why I've put this build together. I will also say that there are more fusion variants that you can utilize thanks to the Dracotails, and the next one that I may be working on, if you guys want to be seeing it, is going to be Shadows. So if you do want to see a Shadow list, make sure you get this video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, and I will bring that for you. So, with all of that out of the way, I'm going to dive headfirst into profile, show you what we've got, and explain why we've got it, so you have as much information as possible to put this deck together if you want to be giving it a go. So, starting off with the Dracotail monsters themselves. Now, I've actually gone more towards the Dracotail engine itself as to make it a very even 50-50 split between themselves and the branded. There are ways to utilize them in different ways, but I kind of quite like this idea of being able to utilize the Femina as a hand trap. I think that's like one of the best and most important kind of elements. Yes, of course, all of the Dracotail has the effect that if they're used as fusion material, they get to utilize some other effect. So in the case of the Femina, this allows you to set a Dracotail spell trap from the deck, and the benefit of something like that is you get your access to your own branded fusion in a way by being able to get to the Dracotail. Now, I quite like utilizing this as a hand trap because during the main phase, you get a quick effect to discard it to fusion someone like a dragon or spellcaster. Now, the benefit of something like this in comparison to some of the other Dracotail builds I've shown you already is that when you're trying to get access to the dragons, of course, you do have the option to go into your Dracotalian Arthelion if you want to, but the benefit of the branded is you actually have access to Lubellion and Albion. So being able to go into either of these, not only can you technically sometimes chain block them because the cards that you send may be a Dracotail monster, but you can also utilize their effects to then work your way into a Mirror Jade turn 0. And I think that's one really important factor that the whole Justice Hunters element has brought to us, more so for the Dracotails and the Canines than the Yummies, but they brought us cards in the form of stuff like the Azuna and the Femina to give us the ability to play during our opponent's turn on turn 0. Now, whether you think that's a positive thing or a negative thing in the whole gamescape, that's entirely up to you, but I feel for decks like this, being able to give us a hand trap that allows us to play is actually really kind of cool. It does also lean into True Tactics Thrust a lot more because then they'll be able to get the ability to add a card rather than just set the card because we're going to be controlling monsters. But being able to get a Mirror Jade like turn 0 could be really important because if they do get rid of the Mirror Jade in the wrong way, the Mirror Jade will then clear their entire field that they've just built up. For the other Dracotail monsters, I'm on the one Mululu. I'm not too sure if I want to bump this up or not. I'm quite happy with it at 1, and the reason that this is probably the more core component bridging between this and the branded is this is one of the cards that can be sent from the deck to the grave with branded fusion because it is a dark dragon. Now, more so the fact that it's a dark attribute than the fact it's a dragon, but that does pop up sometimes and not. Now, this has a quick effect on the field during the main phase to then fusion someone like a Dracotail fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from the hand or field. You can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except fusions, which you're playing a branded deck, you're not really going to be summoning any other way. But the benefit that a card like the Dracotail Mululu has is if it's sent to the grave as for the fusion material, you get to set a Dracotail spell trap from the deck, then you get to negate the effect of one face-up monster your opponent controls. So it has a nice little bit of added benefits. Unlike the Femina and the rest of the Dracotails that I'll show you very shortly, this is actually going to give you the negate. And it's probably more of the common ones. Like if we had a Dracotail Light right now, that would be a more ideal one to be utilizing, but that's kind of where the Mululu gives you a little bit more. The other flip side of this one is that when you're using branded fusion to fuse from the deck, you are going to be looking more towards something like moving into like a tragedy to get you additional effects, and the Mululu is another option to it. The other benefit for this one as well is if you do decide to use your Rahu Dragontail and utilize it from the deck, this is the way that you're going to be able to get into a more ideal scenario because more times than not when you're using the Rahu Dracotail, you're going to be sending the Dracotail from the deck to the grave and then you'll be able to send another monster from the hand because all the Dracotail monsters need a Dracotail monster plus a monster in the hand, and that's kind of the way you want to be doing it. Is the Mululu will go from the deck, then another monster will go from the hand, and then you'll be able to utilize the Arthelion's effect to return cards while also utilizing the Mululu to then negate a card and set a card, which can then work your way into your Ketu Dracotail. The other Dracotail monsters that I use is I am using the one Lucias. Now the reason I'm using this is that there is a card in the extra deck that I don't mind trialing out. I'm not completely set on it as of yet, but I do quite like its applications, and that is the Secturion Dragon. And the reason I like this is it requires a dragon and a spellcaster. It loses 100 attack for each of your banished card, and then while you control these fusions on card, your opponent cannot activate the effects of special monsters or spellcasters or dragons that they control. But you also get the ability to target a dragon and a spellcaster in the graveyard, special 1, and if you do, you place the other on the bottom of the deck. So it's kind of like semi-custom for the Dracotails themselves, because you can recycle some of your dragons and your spellcasters. But the other benefit is that if I utilize the Lucas from the deck to the grave, because I want to go into Artheon off the back of the Rahu Dragontail, I then have the ability to go into the Secturion Dragon, and the Secturion Dragon can then utilize the ability of bringing back the Lucias. Lucias can then search me out the Mululu or the Femina, so that I've got those effects to utilize later on in the turn, or later on during my opponent's turn as well. So I liked it as a one-off option. You don't have to play it. It is completely cuttable if you want to. If anything, you might want to consider a second Mululu, and that is entirely up to you. The last Dracotail monster we use in the main deck is the Urgler. So if this card is integrated as material for a fusion summon, you get to set a Dracotail spell or trap from your deck, and then you get to destroy a spell or trap on the field. So it's a nice little bit of spot removal for spells and traps. If it's in the graveyard, you get to target a spellcaster Dracotail monster in your graveyard, place it on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, add that monster, place this on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, you add that monster back to the hand. And then the benefits on like that is you get to recycle the Femina, or you can recycle the Lucias to get you a bit of a draw. It does give you that benefit of a little bit more should you want to. Then for the Dracotail spells, I'm on 2 of the Rahu Dragontail. Now you can play 3 of this, but I feel it could get a little bit cloggy. And the reason for that is you fusion summon a Dracotail monster from your extra deck using materials from your hand, deck, or field. Also for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you can't special summon from the extra deck except fusions, and you can only activate 1 Rahu per turn. Now the reason I say it gets bricky is if you get multiples, it kind of sucks. Now, really what you're trying to do is, if you're able to utilize something like Branded Fusion, which can be stuff like Alubar into Branded Fusion, activate Branded Fusion, and then send a Mululu. Mululu can then set the Rahu Dragontail. You can then activate the Rahu Dragontail, send something like the Lucias, or set something like the Urgler, and kind of work your plays through that way. So there are more direct ways to the Rahu, but I mean, it kind of comes down to it. You can play 3 of it, there's no issues with that. I kind of went with more of the like mystery box play, and what I mean by that is I like to max out on Triple Tactics Thrust. You can do in a 60 card version, which is a little bit more like, not, I wouldn't say consistent, but a little bit more necessity. But I do like the idea that Triple Tactics Thrust can become Fusion Duplication, it can become Rahu Dragontail, it can become Ketu Dragontail, and I think that when we're looking in a format right now where your opponent is able to play during your turn 0, Triple Tactics Thrust, as I mentioned previously, it just becomes even more consistent. So it can become direct search of a Branded Fusion. It can become, if my opponent doesn't put a monster on the field, a set of a Fusion Duplication. If I've already got a card like the Rahu Dragontail or Branded Fusion or something else like that in the, sorry, not Rahu Dragontail, but like Branded Fusion, or maybe even just a normal poly should you decide to use that as well. And then on the one, the Ketu Dragontail, like again, this card's quite easily recyclable. It's a really, really good card. So you get to add a Dracotail monster from the deck to the hand. And then if your opponent controls a monster, you can fusion summon a dragon or spellcast a monster from the extra deck using monster from your hand or field. So again, the benefit of something like that is going second, it gives you another ramp up. But if you go first, your opponent doesn't control a monster. Again, you get that ability just to search you out a Dracotail monster, which can be your hand trap in the form of the Femina. It could be a semi-starter, like if you have no other fusion plays, it can be a semi-starter in the form of the Mululu, or of course it can be a direct starter in the form of Lucias. So I like the fact that it could be one or the other. You don't need to rely on this as heavily, and again, that's where Triple Tactics Thrust comes into play. It means that you can play less of these particular cards and have Thrust become one or the other, rather than a card that is directly only going to be itself. The last Dracotail monster, or sorry, the last Dracotail card we play for the main deck is the Dracotail Flame. You can side it out if you want to, and you're relied on like not going first, or like trying to balance the going first, but I still like this. It lets you target a face-up spell on the field, you negate its effects until the end of the turn, and then you place a Dracotail card from the grave or banishment on the bottom of the deck, accept itself, and draw a card. So again, recycle your Dracotail cards and move on from there. Now the one card that I'm playing as a bit of a bridge for everything, and it is more of a gimmick than anything else. So if you wanted to, these can become Fluor Losses, they can become more branded direct cards if you wanted to, they can become more Dracotail cards, and that is of course King of the Swamp. Now, the reason I'm playing King of the Swamp is not to discard it for polymerization, but the fact of the matter is, in this deck, not only can it treat itself as Cartesia, it can also treat itself as a Luba, but it means that if I wanted to get a little bit spicy in the extra deck and try and get like a Tan Zero Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, I can do. Now, you don't have to play Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This is what I'm saying, that the King of the Swamp is a gimmick. It's something that you can take out completely, not even worry about it, and you won't even miss it. It's where you'd probably play 3 Cartesias. I only own 2, which is why I'm playing 3 King of the Swamp. I'm also playing only 2 Fallen of Albaz. And again, you could play more of that if you wanted to. I just like how this is that mini bridge that can be from the Dracotails that can work its way a little bit more consistently for you. And you could very easily play 2 King of the Swamps and 1 Polymerization. It is entirely up to you. Moving on to like the Despias and the branded cards, we're on 3 Aluba, the Jester Despia. Yeah, just gonna like show off the alternate artwork for Aluba. I think like this is one of the only Despia alt arts that I think actually looks better than the original. Like I quite like the Albaz one, like the original Albaz, because he looks like he's perching, he's ready. I love the flames in the background in comparison to the other one. The Cartesia one I do like actually, I really do like the Cartesia one. So that's another one that I might need to look into. But even though I actually still quite like the original art. Anyway, I digress. Everyone should know what the Aluba does, and everyone else should know what the branded cards do as well, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on them, but the idea of the baseline is that Aluba is going to grab you a branded spell or trap. So the idea is that this is then going to get you direct access to your branded fusion. If you've already got access to branded fusion, you go for branded red, branded opening, you name it, you've got a couple of different options. The one tragedy, the idea is to send it from deck to grave, or just send it via any way to get it to the graveyard to then add a Despia monster, so you get you into an Aluba. We've got the one Tri-Brigade Macoria. It just kind of activates as a hand trap, but you'll be able to grab that off of the back of your branded Lost. 2 Fallen of Albaz. As mentioned, I think 2 is more than enough in a 40 card build. I think if you're going in 60 cards, you're going to bump it up 1. 2 Cartesia. The reason this one's so important is this is probably like a more ideal starter for you than one of your Dracotails. But the idea is that it's got that quick effect to fuse. And as long as you just fuse a level 8 or higher fusion monster, which most of your Dracotails are anyway, that can then allow you to utilize your Dracotail monsters. It can utilize itself on the field and then the Dracotail monster in the hand. So it gives you a little bit more to go for. So this is the one you could arguably put to free. As mentioned, I only own 2 copies. I know, really annoying. Trust me, I've already been there. So I might need to pick up a third to kind of max this one out. Got the one Guiding Quem, the Virtuous. Not much more really needs to be said about it. Pretty straightforward on this one. Another card you could consider is the Dear Servant. That's another card that I feel is quite good because of the Triple Tactics Thrust. And if you can find some spaces to kind of like shave down a couple of the cards you might not want to play multiples of, you could fit them in if you wanted to. 3 branded opening, pretty standard this one. Discard a card, take a Despia monster from the deck and either add it to the hand or special summon it. 1 Sad branded fusion. Maybe this could come back to free. I really hope it comes back to free. 1 branded in red, 1 branded Lost, and then 1 branded Retribution. We're going to be backing this up with a very small Bestial lineup with the 1 Lubellion and 1 Saronir, just to mainly work your way into, wherever I've just put it, the branded Lost, because in the branded Lost, remember, protects all of your fusion plays. So the activation of your card and effects, including the effect that fusion summon, a fusion monster cannot be negated. Very, very important. Then to kind of bridge all of your normal spells, and sometimes one of your normal track cards, 3 Triple Tactics Thrust. This can get bricky again, but the way that I kind of looked at it was my Triple Tactics Thrust can become an aggressive card if I want to play Triple Tactic Talents. It can become an extender in the form of Fusion Deployment. It can become a defender in the back of the Fusion Duplication. It's really going to be coming down to the environment. And as I've said, when we've got cards like the K9s and we've got stuff like Vanquish Souls in the meta that are going to be putting monsters on their field during your turn 0, being able to activate a card like Triple Tactics Thrust is going to double up your usages for it. You can, again, go for a Talents, which is something that I might consider changing last minute into this one, but that's just something you need to keep in mind. 3 Fusion Duplication, you could probably take one of these out for a Triple Tactics Thrust if you wanted to, but the way that I saw this is, again, this just acts as that Cartesia. Cartesia is an ideal summon for this one, because Cartesia plus any Dracotail monster in the hand is going to get you into your Dracotalian Arthleon, which can be a disruptor, but then it can also trigger off your Dragontail monsters when they're sent as fusion materials. And then, of course, going second, it can be an Albaz that can then utilize its effect to discard a card and threaten your opponent's field. So you're basically trading a 2-for-1 on that one to try and threaten into a Mirror Jade, a Lubellion, or an Albion. The last 2 cards, 1 Foolish Burial and then 1 Fusion Duplication. Pretty much Fusion Duplication is still in here, that if they ash your branded fusion, you go Thrust, set the Fusion Duplication. I'm really hoping, like I said, branded fusion comes back to free. I feel that it honestly could, and that would then be like, you just play 3 branded fusions. Like, there's a no-brainer on that one. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now to show you the extra deck. So I'm going to start off with the Dracotail monsters, as we only have 3 of them right now. So we're playing 2 Dracotail Arthleons and the 1 Dracotail Glumel. So the Arthleons is your ideal aggressor. It requires a Dracotail monster and a monster in the hand, so does the Glumel. So if this card is fusion summoned, you get to target monsters on the field and or graveyards up to the number of monsters used as material from the hand. Return them to the hand, and if 2 or more monsters are sent to the graveyard at the same time while this card is in the graveyard, so Branded Fusion, Rahu, Dracotail, you get to special summon this card back, but you banish it when it leaves the field. Then with your Glumel, this gives you the ability that when you activate a Dracotail card or effect, you get a quick effect to target a card your opponent controls and destroy it, which again leans into the Femena being a little bit more like a little bit more useful as well, so you can trigger it during your opponent's turn, and then this activates like a Thunder Dragon Titan in the sense that you'd activate a Thunder Dragon monster's effect in the hand, and then trigger the Titan on the field to destroy a card. If two or more monsters again are sent to the graveyard at the same time while it's in the graveyard, you special summon it, but you banish it when it leaves the field. For the branded monsters, 2 Mirror Jade. Now remember, with your Dracotail card, you can only go into dragons or spellcasters. So you're not going to be able to go directly into Mirror Jade, but you can get to Mirror Jade through the back of Albion or Lubellion. Now, one thing that a lot of you are going to be like, where is it in the main deck, is there's no Ido the Supreme. Now, I'm personally not the biggest fan of main decking Ido, because I feel that it's quite a loose way of winning game 1 if I go first. I would much rather just side it in when I know I'm guaranteed to go first, because if I'm not, then it's a bit of a risk and reward, and honestly, I don't think you need it. So I'm going to be going with the 1 Albion in the extra deck, but I'm still just going to side in a Ido if I feel that I absolutely need it. And again, this is another dragon you can go into, and it's another one that you can utilize a little bit more. Remember, to get into these guys, though, you are going to need a Fallen of Albaz, which is why I feel playing 2 Fallen of Albaz plus the 3 King of the Swamps gives you the ability to do that a little bit more consistently, rather than just trying to rely on what else you have, because otherwise, all of the time you activate the Feymena in the hand, it's only going to be working its way into the Arthleon. Still got the 1 Rimbrum, entirely up to you, you don't need to utilise this, but you send the Macorio and then kind of build from there. The 1 Grand Grignol, this is a card that I need to get a second copy of. I'm 99% sure I only have 1 copy, but it's one that I would consider playing 2 of. I feel that if you play 2 of this, that's when the 3rd Cartesia comes in to again get you even more consistency. But again, the fact, quite like the Albion and Lubellion, that this specifically needs Cartesia, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to get access to it. So I feel the best way to do that is, if I want to try and summon it during my opponent's turn, which I feel is still very, very effective if I do that, that's when I'm going to want to be looking at opening up a Cartesia. I want to be looking at opening up a King of the Swamp, and that's what I've tried to focus on a little bit more. It's not ideal, like you don't have to lean into it, and that could very easily allow you to cut down the Feymenas. It can also allow you to cut down the King of the Swamps. I just like the little gimmicks of what the other options it can actually provide me for. Speaking of the Grand Grignol, I am playing the 1 Despian Lulu Lawalith. I just think it's like a really kind of cool option that not a lot of people will actually consider anymore in a branded deck. And once it hits the field, they're like, oh, yeah, you can do that. Again, don't have to play it. Swap it out for anything you want. Entirely up to you. The exact same for Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Another card that I really do like the idea of is Super Poly in the main deck, but I haven't really found the correct space for it right now, and I didn't want to bump it to a 60. Not saying that this is the only reason for this card being in here, because like you can actually still make this card, but Super Poly would make this like another option for you. And that is the 1 Fella Regis? Yeah, sorry, Fella Regis. So it requires a Dragon Fusion monster and then a level 7 or higher Dragon monster. During the main phase, you get a quick event to target a card your opponent controls or in their graveyard, banish it, and then you banish this card, banish a card on the field, return a dragon monster you control to the hand. At the start of your opponent's battle phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you get to return a dragon monster you control to the hand or extra deck, and if you do, special on this card. So in place of the Regis, if you wanted to, is you can actually play, and I'm going to get this one exactly right, the Chaos Star Source Dragon. Now the reason I've got it up to one side is because it has had an errata. So it is a dragon, and it requires a light or dark dragon monster and another dragon. If this card is fusion summoned, you get to target cards your opponent controls up to the number of your light and dark monsters used as this card's material. You destroy them. If this card is banished, you get to target a level 4 light or dark dragon you control, and it becomes a level 8. Now, obviously, it's more so that the errata now says your monsters, so you need to utilize your dragons to do it. I kind of felt that it's still a little bit situational, but so is the Regis, so it's something you could adapt if you wanted to. The final 2 cards is the 1 Guardian Chimera, and then the 1 Secturion Dragon, which again, I really do like this as an option. I like it giving you the ability to recycle your Bestials if you wanted to, and if you wanted to lean into them a little bit more, it gives you that option to be a bit more flexible and give you a couple of different options. Anyway, that is it for the entire profile breakdown. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer them. As I stated at the start of the video, if you want to see the next update for the Dracotail variants, the next one is, well, I'm looking to do it as Shadows. So if you guys want to see Shadows, and the chances are you probably will be, I will be more than happy to put it together. You just get this video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, and I will be more than happy to bring it for you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Until next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.